local currency here in South Africa, gaining around 1.7% against the greenback. A lot of positivity. We have seen some economic data which could naturally push us higher today. First quarter GDP numbers coming through at 4.8% quarter on quarter. And then we had good news on the Walmart Massmart deal.
Yes, that's right. I think a lot of factors really conspiring to go in one direction today. We opened up stronger in Asia, and that's sort of filtered through into Europe and African time as well. There's ZAR and the Rand doing strongly. The news on Walmart also a positive factor. I think the more investment that South Africa can get in from overseas, the better, the greater potential it has to boost growth even further. We got the first quarter GDP numbers that I think excited a few people. It was better than generally expected, and we should be on target for growth this year of at least 3.5%, maybe even a little bit stronger than that. So good news all round, and helped by some talk that, as you mentioned, of Greece possibly getting some assistance with some sort of second bailout package at some point in the future.
With regards to emerging market currencies and which currencies are mostly in vogue right now, would you say that South Africa is still, the South African Rand is still a very attractive currency relative to its counterparts perhaps in the Asian space?
Well, it is an interesting currency. I was down in South Africa not that long ago, about 3 weeks ago, I think, and when I came back, a barrage of questions from my colleagues and from clients sort of generated just how great the interest is in South Africa. I think in relative terms, though, we probably do favour Asia a little bit at the moment. I think China will continue to let its currency appreciate, and in turn, that will allow some of the other currencies within Asia to also gain. The Malaysian ringgit, Korean won are the ones that the people are talking about, and those would certainly be our favoured picks. But I think South Africa, with interest rates still relatively high, does look attractive compared to the low rates of return that are available on the euro or the dollar at present.
With regards to the biggest challenge or the biggest concern on foreigners' minds when it comes to the local currency, some would argue that we could see a bit of a threat with central bank intervention. We know that they have started perhaps pressing on the brakes slightly when it comes to that to try and mitigate inflation pressures on a global level. What is your view with regards to this? What do you think is top of the agenda for most of the foreigners out there?
I think the central bank definitely doesn't want a currency that is, in their words, too strong. In the past, when we've seen the Rand get down to sort of 660, 665 against the dollar, then we have seen intervention and the central bank continuing with its policy of reserve accumulation. But between where we are today at sort of 682 and 665, there is a little bit to go for in the short term. Over the longer term, then I think we expect the currency to drift back a little bit to around the 7 level, maybe a little above 7. But it's going to be fairly modest, and I wouldn't expect big swings in the currency. And as I say, the interest rate advantage is probably going to keep the Rand fairly solid for the time being.
When you say you don't expect big swings on the local currency front, we've also got those contrarian views out there. Some say we could still breach that key 6 Rand to the dollar level. Do you think that's a possibility, and what would prompt such a massive move?
I think we have to determine between what's happening with the Rand and what's happening with the dollar. At the moment, the dollar is fairly weak, and if we got another period of sort of extended weakness for the dollar, then I think we could quite easily break through that sort of 660 level that in the past has been a sort of barrier, and even go down into sort of 650 kind of territory. I think we have to look at the currency on a sort of trade-weighted basis. If you look at it against the euro, the Rand is actually down, I think, by about 8% since the start of the year. And on a trade-weighted basis, it's not that out of line compared with sort of long-term averages. So looking at it purely against the dollar is perhaps a little bit of a distraction.